We are we're DAO. The name is MinDAO. We're a product DAO. That means that we build products with DAO resources. So that means that we're not a venture DAO that invests in other companies. We're not a service DAO that provides services. We purely focus on product. We have two products under the DAO. One is Meanfi, and the other one is Mean Protocol. Meanfi is the one that most people are familiar with because it has a nice, good-looking UI that everybody loves, and the aim is really to be a bridge between TradFi and DeFi, and bring people over to the world of DeFi by using everyday banking workflows, the kinds of workflows that they are used to seeing and to working with on traditional finance and on centralized finance on every regular good old bank that they're using, right? So some of those workflows have been missing for a while in DeFi, and we can talk about those in details. But that's the main idea behind Meanfi, and then behind Mean Protocol. Mean Protocol is kind of like the glue that keeps everything together. Meanfi is possible only because of the technology that we have available in Mean Protocol. Mean Protocol doesn't have a UI. It is a set of interoperable smart contracts that live on chain on Solana, and we have three of those. We have an on-chain aggregation engine. We have block tempo, or most people know it as decentralized dollar cost average, which it's what it powers. It's a DDCA contract that allows you to basically have a cron job on chain. And the third one and biggest one and most important one also is the money streaming program, and that is what powers all of our technology part. So and the main audience of Mean Protocol is really other protocols that want to leverage that. So it's not necessarily people that are using Mean Protocol, is other protocols, developers, other projects, other people that want to make sure that they have the same kind of tools available to them to build everyday banking workflows, to do interops between other protocols and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. So you mentioned a lot of features there that we're going to touch on more, but just kind of to get into basics. I mean, this question isn't as important, but I was just curious. But where did you come up with the name Meanfi?
We happen to. I wish I had like one of those glorious stories. The reality is that it was pretty lame in that we characterize the core team. We're very bombastic in our approach, like big mouth. We're always like bad mouthing and stuff like that, and like we are like mean in nature. There's like no soldier left behind, but like fucking buckle up because this shit is going to go fast and it's going that's the spirit, right? So we started like internally toying around with that idea, and Meanfi.com just happened to be available, and we got the domain, and that's how it became Meanfi. So it's really not a whole lot of anything. So
yeah, I mean, if that's the spirit you guys embody, then we need to be mean news as well, right?
Yeah, right on. Right on.
Yeah, awesome. So just kind of getting into Meanfi now, right? Like, what does it mean to be a self-custody bank for those who may be unfamiliar?
Sure. So the idea of self-custody and trustless and permissionless, that's everything that is kind of emboldened by DeFi in general. And there's a lot of different projects that are, in crypto, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they are DeFi projects or that they are, self-custody. Self-custody is the idea that the protocol itself or the project is never in control or in custody of the funds of the users. So in other words, we are nothing more but a tool that the users use to accomplish what they want to accomplish, but the funds are always in their own custody, or the custody of the different smart programs that are smart contracts and programs that they interact with, right? So like the relationship is one of, like, say for example, I like to put the example of a knife maker, right? So if you're a knife maker, you're probably not advertising yourself as like, oh, you can use my knife to kill something or to
Yeah.
like cut celery. Like just use the knife for whatever you want. I'm just a knife maker, and
Yeah.
you are the one making the decision, right? So in the same way, we are the software makers, and we make software to make banking workflows and transactions and DeFi automation very, very simple and very accessible. But those decisions ultimately rely on the user that is interacting with the knife, with the software, with Meanfi, right?
Yeah.
All of the funds are in your custody. We never touch any of that.
Yeah, and I think this is really important and like a really big step in DeFi, right? Because I think there's a big disconnect for those who have never really been in banking or finance, right? Like once you put your money into the bank, it's like you don't really know what happens after that,
Yep.
right? It's not like those movies where you go deposit your check or whatever, and there's like a little cash amount sitting in your box. Like that's just not what happens in the banking system, right? So this like MeanFi, in a sense, from what you're saying, would be like if you went to the bank to deposit money and they give you private keys.
It would I think it would go a little bit further than that. It's almost like you go to the bank and what you get is the vault, and you walk out of the door with the vault and put money on
Yeah,
it, right? So
yeah,
it's not necessarily that you get the key because that still be in the bank's custody,
uh huh,
not on your custody. So like the bank can get seized, for example, and or get robbed, and then all of the funds that are held in the bank will be, would be basically at risk.
uh
In
huh,
your case, because the funds are with you and they are with your wallet or with the protocols that you decide to interact with,
mm-hmm.
that's what makes it very decentralized and stuff. So I guess like technically speaking, you could say that one of those like safety deposit box that you can put like two keys on. It's kind of like that, except that those safety deposit box being centralized in the bank vault, you are essentially deciding which protocols do you want to park that TVL on. So you're saying like each one of those vaults will be something like, I don't know, Port Finance or Solrise or
Mm-hmm.
anywhere where you are actually deciding that, okay, I'm going to put my money here to make it work. That would
Yeah,
be the equivalent of like a mini bank. So it's your relationship with that protocol what sets that um, 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 set that thing, right?
yeah. So then, kind of like a bank, would you ever introduce like a savings account, for example, like a stablecoin savings account?
Yeah, so we are actually bringing quite a few. If you look at our roadmap, we started off with consumer, so we want to make sure that like kind of like the basic workflows for consumers were clearly done before jumping into investors. So consumer was like phase one of our roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
We are still in that phase, but we started already the second phase. So they run in parallel, but they get delivered fully sequentially, right? So
Mm-hmm.
some of those things are happening in parallel. And right now we're running a lot of different, like a lot of new workflows and a lot of new improvements and additions to MeanFi that add a lot of investment workflows, and whether it is savings, whether it is index fund investing, whether it is borrowing and whether it is like basically you being exposed to other protocols that you make kind of like your own decisions of, yep, this is what I want to do and this is where I want to put my money on.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be bringing that up to the surface on Meanfi very, very soon. You're gonna be able to see quite a few new alternatives for you to invest and deploy your capital directly from Meanfi.
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually looking at your roadmap right now, and it seems really interesting, right? Like, I really like how the phases are done in like terms of okay, this part's for the consumer, this part's for investors, business, institutions, and the
Yep.
ecosystem as a whole. That's really
Yep.
cool. Yeah. So more
Thank you.
specifically, where we are now, right? Uh, We're on the Steve Jobs section of the roadmap, right?
Yep.
Um, so I know. Um, we'll touch a little bit more on the money streaming protocol. But what I was actually really interested in is the liquidity aggregator protocol and kind of how that works and how it plays into your system.
Yeah, so we have two parts of the liquidity aggregation, and we recently actually announced that we're going to be bringing Jupiter as our primary engine for liquidity aggregation. So
Oh, nice.
our liquidity aggregator is actually going to take kind of like a second row citizen, because the Jupiter aggregator is truly fantastic, and they are phenomenal engineers, and they're putting all like a lot more effort than we were putting on our aggregator. So it only makes sense to really partner up with them. And they're also going to be bringing money streams into their aggregator. So it's like a match made in heaven type of deal. We made a big post last week about it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I encourage everybody to go see it there. But essentially, the way that you have to look at aggregation, liquidity aggregation, is it is a really complicated problem. For a
Right.
number of reasons,
Yeah.
but the primary one is, as a trader, anybody that wants to either swap two assets or two tokens, or anybody that wants to participate in the market, they have basically two options to make. And to me, there's no option, because there's no game. Either you have to decide which AMM, which automated market maker, am I going to go to make that swap? Like, oh, I like Orca, or I like Radium, or I like Aldrin, or like, it doesn't matter. Pick your favorite AMM, and they're all doing phenomenal work. But you have to realize that you are handcuffing yourself to the sideload liquidity that AMM is providing, and it is very likely that you are paying more than what the best market rate can get you if you
Right.
were to consider all the aggregators, all the market makers at the same time, right? So, and that's what
Yeah.
a liquidity aggregator does. It basically stands up one layer above all of the AMMs, and looks at the liquidity across all of them, and then runs a lot of different routes to find out which one is the most effective. So, say for
Mm-hmm.
example, if you were in Orca, and the specific pool of X to Y doesn't exist, Orca will try to find you a route. But guess what? A route within Orca.
Yeah.
So, like, if that pool doesn't exist, then you go from X to USDC, and then from USDC to Y. But that might not be the best rate, because the X to USDC rate out
Mm-hmm.
in Radium is a lot better than the rate that you're getting inside of Orca. So right there, you already have some like optimization opportunities that you can make, and you'll be paying a lot more slippage, a lot more fees, a lot more like the cost of you swapping tokens, doing it on directly on an AMM. It truly doesn't make sense. So anybody that is doing that, okay, like if you really, really, really want to do it there, like go for it. But understand that you're just wasting money, like you're just throwing money, just leaving money on the table. So for that reason, an aggregator is, to me, the only logical way to do token swaps, period. And
Yeah.
right now, the best aggregator out in the market is Jupiter,
Jupiter.
period.
Uh-huh.
So, and Jupiter is going to be now our primary aggregator on Meanfi starting this week. So, yeah. So that's that
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I personally started using Jupiter not so long ago, right? Like I only heard about it a week ago. And ever since then, it kind of excuse me. I don't know if you heard of like Dodo Finance on BSE, but that's really what it reminded me of, right? Like you said, it finds you the best rates and the best stream. So once I actually found out about Jupiter, I only started using it rather than like Radium or Orca. So it's
Yep.
really cool that you guys are building that into your protocol as well.
Yeah, and the idea of like us building it, like what. So for you, using Jupiter versus using Meanfi is going to be the same thing, because the rates are going to be the same. We're just going to be surfacing Jupiter on Meanfi.
Right.
The big difference is that Jupiter is only focusing on liquidity aggregation and doing
Uh-huh.
that work very, very well, and we applaud him for that. And that's one of the reasons why we're partnering with them. But then when you look at the way that people use Meanfi, people don't come here only to do exchanges and only to do swaps. They come here because they want to analyze what is the holdings on their balances on their wallet. They come here because they want to be able to do to send money to family and friends, to be able to send remittances, or to get paid for a particular work that they did on Upwork, or they come here because they want to configure a particular money stream to go out and pay the child allowance, or some employee, or you are a DAO and you want to distribute money from your treasury out into your collaborators using the payroll function and the treasury management functions that we have. So there's a lot more that people come here, and having everything in kind of like a cohesive user experience that you can clearly know how you're moving from one to the other. That's what Meanfi is providing for everybody else.
Yeah, very cool. So I know there was one thing that that was really important to your protocol. Oh, sorry, did you have something to say?
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay, my bad. Yeah, so money streaming. So can you tell us about that?
Sure. So money streaming is one of our core techs that kind of combined with the DDCA or the block tempo, which is that cron job in on chain. It's what makes everything that we do basically possible.
Right.
A money stream is nothing more than essentially a contract that facilitates a real-time settlement of a transfer between any two parties. So if I wanted to send money to you, I want, and that money is in exchange for a service. In other words, for time. It is a lot more efficient for me to send money to you via money stream than doing a transfer. I'll give you like some examples of that. The easiest way that people understand this is with payroll. Okay. So if you have, which is only one, like 0.5% of all the use cases that money streaming powers. Okay, I just want to kind of clarify that this is not only about payroll. Payroll is one of the very simple use cases that are kind of make it easy to understand. But most companies pay their employees either twice a month or once a month. Okay. And that's usually like post payment. So every time that you are that you're engaging in labor, you are essentially expected to work certain hours. Say, for example, that is twice a month. So you work for 2 weeks for free, and then after 2 weeks, your employer pays you a little bit of money. They make a direct deposit into your bank account, and that's how you receive your money. So the first question that you need to ask yourself there is like, wait, time out. Why am I working for them for free? And you're like, well, no, you're not working for them for free. You're working for them, and they will pay you after 15 days what you already worked, which is effectively the same as you, the employee, giving your employer an interest-free loan for exactly 15 days. Now, I don't know about you, but like,
That's a pretty
I want to
interesting way
get
to put it.
interest-free loans.
I've never heard of it like that. No, that's pretty interesting.
Right? So, like, nobody gives out interest-free loans. So why is it that every single employer in the world is able to get it just by the mere fact that they have employees? That is a very unfair, unbalanced type of relationship that happens. So it favors the employer in detriment of the employee every single time consistently. We actually did the math. And so if every single employer that is getting paid on a biweekly basis across the world were to switch over to money streams, every single person in the world, okay, listen to this, will be able to increase their salary by a cool $540 something in the world. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but just try to picture this in like, developing countries that $540 means a ton. Okay. So that's how big this problem is. Every single person in the world, if they switch to money stream, they will be able to increase their salary immediately by that much. All right. So that's one use case, but that is not the only use case. And you can see how this kind of like starts to become very pervasive as you think about every other service that has a postpaid or a prepaid nature to it. So the same can be said the other way. We prepay for a bunch of subscription services and things like that, like Netflix and our Spotify accounts and things of that nature, right?
Right.
So we are prepaying those companies for a service we haven't used yet. So this is kind of like the exact opposite of the employment
Yeah.
contract. Um, and it is done that way because it's very inefficient today to actually pay. Like, imagine you listening to only 20 seconds of a song that you actually didn't like. How would you go about distributing the value of you listening for 20 seconds to that song and not to the entire song? It's kind of difficult, but with money streams, you actually can get paid, or you actually can pay only for those 20 seconds, and you don't have to pay for the whole thing. Instead of paying Netflix, an entire month of unlimited watching, you only pay them as you are watching what you are watching in real time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you turn on a movie and you watch it for a whole 2 hours, and the movie gave you value for a whole 2 hours, voila! As you're watching the movie, the money is flowing from you to Netflix
Yeah.
for being the distributor of that, right? So you have like all of this kind of workflows where you as a consumer are getting are getting fairly compensated for the services that you provide, and you are fairly compensating those services that you consume, exactly at from the moment and to the moment that they are consumed and that they are provided, right? So it works
Yeah.
both ways. And you can extend that to pretty much anything, including every single protocol in DeFi is capturing TVL from a user. And the value proposition is, Mr. User, I want you to park your TVL on me because I am going to give you back a bunch of rewards for something else. Okay.
Okay.
Whether that is a lending protocol or any other protocol, really.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that relationship presumes that the value that is being locked, it is functioning from like the very first moment that it is deposited. But the reality is that it is very much a contract that has that has essentially a batch behavior, because if you think about the way that protocols today, they distribute value back into their consumers, all of the protocols either have a claim, withdraw, harvest, whatever you want to call button that they ask people, hey, can you come here like after every day and click on this claim button, and we will give you some rewards that you've earned since you deposited last time or since you claimed last time, right? So
Yeah.
so right there you have a very like high friction interaction between the protocol and the user, where the user has to like, and nobody likes this, like you mentioned a single person that loves going back to a protocol and clicking on a harvest button every
Yeah.
single day. Nobody, absolutely nobody in the world thinks that that is a good use of their time. However, that is the current state of affairs.
Right.
And that is simply because there is not an easy way for a protocol to distribute the value that they're giving out to their users in real time. And that real
Mm-hmm.
time is what a money stream can power up. So immediately you get that value distribution network connected from protocol to user in real time. The minute that a user deposits any kind of TVL into a protocol, they
Uh-huh.
start receiving a money stream immediately, like 1 second after. They
Like right
get
into
some
my
money stream that
wallet.
they can withdraw.
Would
Say
it
again?
like right into my wallet?
Right into your money stream, which will show up in your wallet, and you can basically use that from anywhere to anywhere. Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Hey, I'm actually real quick getting a question from one of our writers, Kyle. Well, sorry, our editor Kyle, who's actually listening in right now. And he was wondering where you got the number of $500 per person.
I can actually send you guys a little Excel sheet. I think we actually did a post about that too in our
Okay.
chart, but I can send you the numbers. There's a lot of different data points that are gathered from there. But yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm more of a visual learner, so that'll help.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So before we kind of just move on, I mean, I think we're getting towards the end here. Um, but kind of before we move on, let me just say that the giveaway code, right? If you go to our Twitter and look at the Gleam, the giveaway code is Mean AMA. It's in all caps MEAN AMA. MEAN AMA. And yeah. And Great. So while we move on, I actually had a question about this. So I know like the banking, so like you could straight deposit fiat into Meanfi, right? Into your protocol.
Yes. Yep.
So kind of what are the potential risks with that? I mean, like I know anytime smart contracts are involved, right, there's always a risk. Like no matter what anybody says, that's just
100%.
so how do you kind of mitigate that? Like do you I actually don't even know where to start this question because it's just, I just don't understand it. But if you could kind of guide us through that.
Sure. So, in terms of actual risk of using, and this is this is not only for us, by the way, that this is a risk that exists on like 100% of the protocols
Right, right.
out there, right? So there's a number of things that we're doing to mitigate risk, starting with the fact that again we're non custodial, like we don't hold any of your funds. Period. The end.
Uh-huh.
Right. So starting at that, all funds are controlled by the users through their wallets and private keys. We are non-custodial application, and we don't have access to spend the funds of any wallet. There's zero risk of losing any funds from interacting with Meanfi if the funds are in your wallet at the end, right? So unless you
Mhm.
get some transaction signed, the funds are not going out anywhere. That's it. The end. Now we do have different things that have to do with smart contracts. We do have 3 smart contracts that are deployed in chain. And for example, we do things like dollar cost averaging, where people need to deposit their money into the smart contract in order for that money to be executed at a later day
Mhm.
on the DCA.
Yeah.
And those smart contracts, there is. I mean, we try our best to write safe code, and we do internal and external code reviews, as well as audits that we have pending by auditing firms. And we have a strict implementation of code coverage and on-chain programs, most pass, all of the code coverage and unit tests before being deployed to production. So there's a lot of different things that we go through to put as many checks as we can in place. All of our smart contracts are open source. They have been from day one, so anybody can actually take a look at the code and evaluate it. And we have gotten quite a bit of feedback directly from the community on things that we could have improved there. So like it has already gone through a number of cycles
Right.
from security review perspective. So those contracts right now are fairly matured when it comes to being doing penetration testing regularly and things like that on them and on the application. So there's a lot that is going on there. In addition to that, and I think that this is the first time that we're talking about this.
Uh-huh.
Um, Towards the end of this month, we're going to be announcing our bug bounty program.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, so we're going to be putting out $500,000 of bounty for people that can actually hack our programs. And
Yeah.
so that is also going to be part of our security measure. So to kind of like open that up to the community, because it doesn't really matter how many audits and audited firms you have in place. Those are
Right.
the ultimate backstop. They're not the solution to the problems. And in all honesty, there is unfortunately um, a lot of auditing firms out there that simply are essentially selling their seal of approval to projects. And I cannot think of a single auditing firm that has not have one high profile project
Yeah.
already hacked or already with like some major security vulnerability after they got audited. So there's a little bit of like an overhype of the actual impact of the audit. There are
Hmm.
companies like Mango, for example, which is like huge, and they haven't gotten any audit because everything they manage through like directly the community, their bug bounty program, and you have a lot more eyeballs looking at the smart contracts than any one single firm can actually do. So outsourcing that into the entire community is kind of becoming a little bit of the rule right now rather than the exception.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of projects tend to think like an audit is like the end all be all. Like, oh, we got an audit, it's safe to use.
Yeah,
But
it's not.
I think the main takeaway here, right, is if anyone's building a project out there, or anything, or even if you just interact with projects, you have to know it's like a lot of projects tend to find complacency with their audit,
Yep.
but kind of like what or exactly like what Meanfi is doing, you need a proactive approach to security. I think that is the only way. I mean, we like to put it as like security, liquidity is kind of like a moving target in crypto.
Yep.
And especially with security, like projects need that proactive approach, and you always have to assume someone out there is smarter than the people who audited my smart contract, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, bug bounty is a great idea for that.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Awesome. So, we're kind of about out of time now. So, do you have any exciting news you'd like to announce here today?
Yeah. So we are going to be doing, officially, our IDO is going to happen on December 15th, and we're going to be announcing a lot of details about the IDO between tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. So, but you heard it here first in Solana
Nice.
News. So keep your eyes peeled. There's a lot more coming, and yeah. So very excited about that. Very excited to open up to the rest of the community the ability to participate in Meanfi and building the future of money streams and decentralized finance in general.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. So everyone definitely make sure to go check out Meanfi. I mean, super innovative project with very proactive approaches to security. Like, yeah, you just don't want to miss out on this, especially in the future of DeFi. So make sure you guys go check them out. And Michelle, thank you again for joining us today. It was great having you on.
Right on, right on. Thank you guys for having us.
Awesome. Have a great day, everybody.
All right.